one parent with Alzheimer's, and 5 kids with no hope of agreeing on what to do. What to do with mom, the house, the car, or even the cat. I'm your host, Valerie Borgman, and if this sounds like your family, you won't want to miss this week's episode on Elder Mediation. Welcome to Desperately Seeking Senior Living, a podcast for sons, daughters, grandkids, and spouses who suddenly find themselves tangled in the search for senior living and care. If you like today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and check out our doable download in today's show notes for a printable summary of the show and a bonus tip from our guest. You're listening to our doable tips, short answers to your questions. Don't see your question listed? Send us a note. Then don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an answer. Hi, everyone. It's Valerie. Before we get to today's episode, I have a quick question for you. How many coworkers, neighbors, clients, or friends have you told about the podcast? Well, we know you have because our numbers are growing. Thank you so much for spreading the word. We've heard from so many families who have felt less overwhelmed just by listening in. If you find the podcast helpful, consider donating. Even $1 can help us continue to bring you the best episodes. Look for the donate button on our website or in show notes, and thanks for listening. Hi, and welcome to the show. Last week, we talked about the many decisions families are faced with when considering senior living and care for their aging parent. For some, it's been something they've talked about for years, giving everyone plenty of time to come to terms with all the possible outcomes and how they feel about it. I worked with sisters once who, despite their mom's progressing Alzheimer's, were able to laugh through everything, all the challenges, and they leaned on each other for support. They consulted one another and made decisions together, but not every family is this lucky. If you're listening in this week because you're one of those families who can't seem to get on the same page, first, I'm so sorry. I know from personal experience that I talked a little bit about last episode, that intense family conflict surrounding these intense emotional decisions is not fun. Not to mention that you're most likely busy with your own kids and work and friends. So when simple decisions seem like huge roadblocks, it might be time to consider elder mediation. And let's start with the fact that elder mediation isn't therapy. Therapy usually takes a look back at why and how we all got here and then moves on to solutions. Mediation only focuses on the solutions to the problems at hand, which means setting aside that you always feel like you're the last to know, or that your sister feels used because her and her husband are doing most of the family caregiving. Your brother's response to that might be, well, no one asked her to do all that work. Or maybe your brother has been carrying the financial responsibility and wants to make sure his inheritance is protected so he essentially gets paid back. Half the family could be in complete denial about how much care your mom needs, while you're screaming on the inside, knowing full well that if they were the ones actually providing the care, they wouldn't be so quick to dismiss your concerns. Or you communicate directly, and your sister hates conflict, avoiding it at all costs. So, what does elder mediation actually look like? Well, first of all, it's voluntary. Everyone agrees that they want to be there. Secondly, it's led by a professional trained in elder mediation, which means their job is to help everyone feel safe and heard. Now, it only works if everyone is able to set aside their differences. It usually starts as a group or one-on-one to determine individual goals prior to meeting as a group. The focus is solely on problem solving. Your loved one may or may not participate. For example, if your mom's level of Alzheimer's prevents her from being able to understand or communicate effectively, then in most cases, she may not be involved in the process. But usually your loved one will participate, and the mediator is going to ensure that their rights are being protected throughout the process. Mediators don't advise families, they simply make sure that everyone's heard and that everyone continues to focus on the problem solving. They can also provide resources, and mediation is expected to be kept confidential by all participants unless everyone agrees otherwise. So let's take our previous example where one sibling is providing all the care and the ones who aren't are in denial about how much care mom needs. Mediation can help those other siblings see the reality of the situation. It also helps uncover what everyone really wants. Maybe the sibling providing the care just wants recognition for the job they're doing, or even compensation in some way, but they haven't been able to express this. An elder mediator is going to ask the right questions, even the questions you've maybe been afraid to ask because history tells you the response you'll get is not going to be good. Listen, family dynamics rarely go away, but an elder mediator's ability to focus everyone on problem solving can help everyone move past those dynamics. This sounds great, right? But is there ever a time that mediation won't work? Well, yes. So, if one person refuses to engage in the process and they won't make their concerns known, then it's not going to work. If one person is highly emotional and they're not able to focus on the problem solving, or maybe there are mental health issues that prevent someone to be able to problem solve, or if one participant has extreme control over one or all of the other participants, making it impossible for anyone to feel safe expressing their concerns. But when mediation does work, it can be an amazing tool. You may have spent a year arguing with your siblings about whether or not dad should move, where he should move, if he should sell the house, how that money should be used. But through mediation, you're faced with things that maybe you've heard before, but just weren't able to process. Your sister may have told you that mom keeps calling her at all hours of the day, but you were in the middle of a work project and didn't know what to say or how to help. Or your sibling never told you about mom's missing money and jewelry because they didn't think you'd believe that it was her memory loss and not someone stealing. Or maybe your dad fell and told your sister not to tell you. Maybe your dad hasn't been eating and he's only living in the living room because he can't make the stairs to his bedroom any longer, and you had no idea. And now, in mediation, you're hearing everything all together. And now it makes sense why your siblings have been trying to get you to consider other options. Maybe you didn't even realize that you were feeling so overwhelmed by the thought of getting the house ready for market, looking for a new place, and actually moving that you were resisting the idea altogether. Now, whether this is you in this example or you clearly can see your sister or brother in this example, elder mediation can help each of you work through your own reasons for not moving forward to make these tough decisions. And it's all for your loved one's safety and well being. If you've found yourself and your siblings fighting in front of the accountant, the lawyer, realtor, on a senior living community tour, or even in front of your parents, take a moment and consider what an objective mediator could do to not only help your family make these important decisions, but also help your own emotional and physical health, and hopefully make such a tough situation more doable. Today's episode is brought to you by ClearPath Senior Living Solutions. ClearPath helps families find assisted living, memory care, and other resources. Find our contact information in today's show notes. Check out this episode's doable download in show notes for details including industry terms and definitions we discussed, as well as a bonus tip from our guest. Have questions or your own tips to share? Leave us a message. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, make it doable.